Yet the more Forrest refused to believe what was happening, the more a part of him knew that he was not seeing things, not making things up, not the next viral TikTok sensation, with or without the embarrassing parts. Impossible as it was to believe, Grant had wings, which were actually quite beautiful. With those wings he had flown or sailed him from sweatshop. As Forrest conjured up scenario after scenario, he realized that in the end, the most probable explanation was that Grant was telling the truth. He was a fairy. Well, thought Forrest, remembering the end of Some Like It Hot, nobody's perfect. He had started the evening worrying about how to eat a gyro without looking like a slob, and was discovering that everything he knew about the world had to be turned upside down. Why had Disney not done a better job of preparing him to cope with fairies?
Let me take you back in time to the turn of the century. I was an undergraduate in the English department at the University of Minnesota taking a survey of British literature taught by today's guest, Professor Andrew Elfenbein. He doesn't remember me because it was a land-grant Big Ten university, a big lecture hall filled with hundreds of students, and I liked to sit in the back row and never raise my hand because I had situational anxiety that didn't get diagnosed until my mid-20s, and I just physically could not participate in discussions or ask questions, which is like 80% of the reason why I became an English major because I loved writing papers and taking blue book exams. Professor Elfenbein's class was a revelation. It was the first time I learned about post-colonialism, about queer theory, about how the literary canon came to be, and how the canon doesn't have to be a static, stodgy, exclusively white male thing. And after class, my best English department friend Melanie and I would go discuss our deep thoughts over two-for-ones at Sally's or Stub and Herbs. Okay, back to the present. Today, I'm so excited to talk with Professor Elfenbein. He is a professor of English at the University of Minnesota who has edited Oscar Wilde's Picture of Dorian Gray and Bram Stoker's Dracula and written 4 academic books. In his spare time, he's a fitness instructor and novelist. His fantasy novel, The Quyre, was recently published by Dreamspinner Press, and it's about 2 men, a lonely gym owner and a corrupt conflict resolution consultant who get mixed up with a group of fairies in the fictional Midwestern town of Pine Rapids. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start out by asking you, what is your connection to Minnesota?
That's a great question. So, I am not a native Minnesotan. I came to Minnesota in 1991 because of the job. I grew up outside of DC in Maryland and then went to undergraduate and graduate school in New Haven, Connecticut. So I came out in 1991 not knowing anything about Minneapolis or Minnesota, and this was in the days before the web, before easy access to information. So I had a steep learning curve, but I have come to love Minnesota a great deal. My first year, 1991, as those who were in Minnesota that year may remember, was the year of the famous Halloween snow. So I was a young, poor English professor who had just been in town barely 2 months with my very ramshackle, on its last legs Honda Accord, and I was commuting between Milwaukee and Minneapolis, and during that commute, the snow started and did not stop. And
Oh
I still
no.
remember thinking I would never get out of the downtown shuttle because the traffic was gridlocked and the snow was never going to stop. As you probably figured out, I did make it home, but that is still a very vivid memory from my first year here. in Minnesota.
That's harrowing. I love Halloween blizzard stories. So you are a serious scholar of literature, a graduate of Yale University, a tenured professor. You've won multiple awards and fellowships for your scholarship and teaching. You've published books and journal articles on literature, literacy, and literary theory. But we are not here to talk about the scholarly stuff. I am so curious about how you found your way to publishing a romantic fantasy.
That's another wonderful question. Thank you so much for asking. I am nearing the end of my scholarly career. I will be retiring after the end of the 26-27 academic year. And I thought there were things that I still wanted to do, and if I didn't do them now, I wasn't going to have a chance to do them. In terms of my academic writing, I'm still doing it, but I have written, as you noted, a lot of academic prose. If anyone is interested in what Andrew Elfenbein has to say about X, Y, or Z, there's plenty of information out there. Plenty, but there is not a lot of creative writing by me. So I thought this would be a fun challenge. Some of this came out of my time as chair. Administrative memos and emails are among the most glacially boring genres that it is possible to imagine. So I worked hard to lighten the tone of things that I sent to the department. And I thought I enjoyed writing humor and thought that it would be fun to apply that in a novel. And that was one of the things that led me to be interested in writing fiction and to try my hand at it with the Quyre.
You work with Julie Schumacher, author of Dear Committee Members. Is this an English department correspondence theme?
That's a wonderful, thank you so much for asking. I have amazing creative writing colleagues here at the University of Minnesota, really extraordinary bunch of writers. And whenever I think of who my favorite Minnesota writers are, it's an easy question for me to answer because I have such an outstanding group of colleagues. As a creative writer myself, I do not begin to put myself in their league, but I am honored to have them as colleagues. In terms of the writing process, I wanted to do it on my own, so I did not want to bother my extremely prestigious colleagues with my awkward first attempts at fiction. But Julie was a wonderful, supportive colleague in writing a complimentary puff for my book, and I am deeply grateful to her for her willingness to do that.
Oh, that's nice. Can you tell me a little bit about the Quyre?
I absolutely. So the Quyre falls into the genre of MM romance or MM romantasy. When I surveyed reviews of contemporary literary fiction, I found certain adjectives that kept reappearing, such as searing or gut wrenching or painful. And I respect the desire on the part of contemporary writers to address difficult, hard material through fiction. At the same time, I felt that if I wanted really searing, gut wrenching material, all I needed to do was look at the headlines.
Mm, hmm.
I wanted an alternative and was interested in fiction's much maligned ability to offer an escape. And romantasy was a wonderful opportunity to think through that, especially in relation to gay fiction. For the history of gay fiction, so much of it has been haunted by the spectacle of catastrophe, of relationships that do not end happily for a huge variety of causes. And I felt at this moment where there is a renewed intensity around homophobia and transphobia that I was really interested in providing opportunities for fun and comedy and humor around gay relationships, not to deny the reality of the time we're living in, but to offer my version of a protest against it by insisting on the opportunities for fun, for camp, for humor, and for wit, and for the power of the imagination.
Wonderful. Well, it is a super fun, surprising twists, um, amazing character descriptions. I really enjoyed it. Is
Thank
it
you.
a series? I think it says it's book one. Do you know how many books will be in the series?
A lot remains to be determined. So I
Okay.
am writing a sequel to it now. So I would love for it to become a series. How many books should be in a series is also a really good question. Never having written a series before, I don't have a good sense of when do you burn out, when do you reach a point of diminishing returns. I love in my spare time imagining the possible options for later books in the series. But right now, I'm tunneling in to writing a sequel that I have in mind. And once that's done, we'll see if it the press will accept it, and then we will see where we will go. But I would love to see it as a series.
To pivot here a little bit, you teach a lot of group fitness classes at the YMCA. I used to go to a body pump class that you subbed for. I'm more of a yoga lady, a very weak upper body. Um, but how did your experience as a fitness instructor help you write the character of Forrest, who's a very fit gym owner? A lot of the action takes place in his gym.
It does. So first thing since you were in my classes, I've also become a yoga instructor. So way to go. I'm glad to hear
Oh,
that you're a yoga person as well. It's a wonderful format and I feel very strongly about the benefits of yoga. So way to go. Comedy or certain modes of comedy thrive on moments of human vulnerability. Vulnerability can lead to very sad, painful episodes. It can also lead to very funny and comic episodes where, across boundaries of all kinds of identity categories, we can sympathize with other people going through awkward moments, either because we've experienced them ourselves or imagined ourselves experiencing them. The gym, as I said, is a place of vulnerability because people may be trying things that they've never tried before, either in terms of exercise formats or the amount of weight that they're choosing to lift, or in yoga, maybe trying an asana that they've never tried before. And that comes with the risk of completely falling on your face. It also comes with the potential benefit of finding out that you can do something you've never thought you could do before. So the gym, I think, as I said, is a rich environment for exploring the potentials of comedy. And I had a lot of fun placing Forrest as a gym owner in this environment, dealing with all kinds of human weaknesses and foibles and the frequent trendiness of the fitness industry as well. So I enjoyed being able to incorporate that part of my life, my career into the novel, and hope to keep that going in future in sequels.
nice. What is your favorite part of the writing process? Do you like to revise? Do you like to draft or something else?
Throughout my writing, my favorite part is revision. The hardest part for me is generating the first draft. And here
Mm,
I remember Julia Schumacher telling me something or mentioning something. I'm not sure she was even speaking directly to me, but mentioned that in terms of her writing process, she tried initially just to get a draft of maybe 60 to 70 pages out that would present something of a skeleton of a plot.
hmm.
And I found that hugely empowering when I was drafting because I could feel comfortable knowing that it was okay if my draft wasn't 300 pages. It was fine if it was more of a seed than a complete draft, but it was useful to have a beginning, a middle, and ending. Then, once I had that, I went back and expanded, and that I hugely enjoyed. I really enjoy the revision process because I like to think I get to watch my prose getting better.
Hmm.
Not everybody may think that when they read it, but I see opportunities for humor that I didn't see the first time, or connections between earlier and later parts of the book that may not have been visible to me when I was drafting. But now that I can go back, I can say, oh, this would connect so well with something I said earlier, or something that is going to come later. So I have an opportunity here.
What do you like better, writing fiction or writing the academic stuff?
I actually enjoy both. One of the big benefits of writing fiction is it does not come with the tedious part of academic work, which is footnotes and citations.
Sure.
That I believe that footnotes and citations are extremely important for academic work, but they are boring to compile and to write. So, with fiction, I enjoy being freed from that particular part of the writing process. Even though I should note there are many distinguished writers who have footnotes both hallucinatory and real in their writing as well,
Mm,
because
hmm.
sometimes writers like to mock academic prose because it's such an obvious target for mockery.
Yeah. So who is your favorite Minnesota writer?
I will again bring forward and lift up Julie Schumacher, not just because she had nice things to say about my book, but also because her own writing is so smart, so witty, so verbally inventive from sentence to sentence that she, for me, renovated the genre of the comic novel. And I am hugely grateful to her for doing that, for taking the risk of writing comedy, taking the risk in focalizing or putting at the center a male professor, and at times being willing to take on his voice. Lots of courage and skill behind novels that may seem very light and entertaining.
Hmm. And how have you been dealing with the federal occupation? For a timestamp, it's February 19th, and it's been a week since they announced the end.
Correct. A week in which the end has not been especially visible to
Hmm.
those of us living in Minnesota. And I say this for those of us, people who may not live in Minnesota, who may be listening to this podcast, who may assume from headlines that everything is over in Minnesota. It is very, very much not. Part of my academic work has been working as chair, interim chair, of the Department of German, Nordic, Slavic, and Dutch at the University of Minnesota. And the federal presence in the Twin Cities has meant a huge amount of concern on the part of our undergraduate students, our graduate students, and our faculty about their own safety. So a lot of my energy has been into finding ways to put safety first for everybody on campus and finding out what the official policies of the university are and making room for them, and finding out what I can do as chair in addition to keeping everyone safe, to making sure that private spaces remain private and are not entered into without judicial warrants, and making clear that that signage is evident. In addition, I took the Monarcha training in legal observing and am engaged with that, and in particular trying to clarify through social media just what the rights of legal observers and immigrants are, and that legal observation does not constitute obstruction at all. It is based on rights we are granted in the Constitution, and trying to make sure that people understand the difference between obstruction and legal observation. They are not the same thing, and the vast majority of what has been happening in Minnesota is legal observation. So you probably can tell I feel very strongly about this and have been using the platforms available to me to make that distinction clear.
Yes. Well, thank you for everything that you are doing. That sounds extremely important. Thank you for your work.
I am aware that others are doing much, much more, and I only wish I could do even more. I am in awe of my fellow citizens in the state, fellow Minnesotans, who have, through innumerable efforts, come together to find ways to support the immigrant community and to document what is happening in the state.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch. Yes. So are you on social media? Where can folks follow you online to get updates about the Quyre and Pine Rapids?
I am on Facebook and would be delighted to uh, be DM'd on Facebook. Happy to talk to people. I also have a Substack that, and I give the link to that at the end of the novel. So anybody who's interested, I'm eager to let people know about what is going on through my Substack page.
Great. Well, I will link to those in the show notes of this episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the Read Minnesota Books podcast, Professor Elfenbein. It's been a real joy to speak with you.
You are so welcome, and I love the idea for this podcast and am eager to see or hear, is probably the operative verb, from future guests.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Now for my recommendations. You should read The Quyre. Another good book is Dear Committee Members by Julie Schumacher, which won the Thurber Prize for American Humor in 2015. And if you live in a blue state, take a constitutional observer training, because when ICE leaves Minnesota, they're going to go somewhere else. I'll link to a sign-up form from the Immigrant Defense Network in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Read Minnesota Books. Bye, friends.